So the first thing you need to understand about pressure is, well, if you're going to do anything about something, you have to figure out what it is first, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if we're talking about pressure, well, what is pressure? What emotion is pressure? People say stress, yeah, anxiety. Stress and pressure and all of that, whatever you want to call it, it's an inflection of anxiety. Now, look, if you've got crippling social anxiety, probably not going to be in sales, right? But that said, I know some people who do have severe anxiety and have flourished, right? So, but you got to understand what anxiety is if you're going to conquer it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So, what is anxiety? We're feeling red, black, or blue here, guys.
Red.
Cool. So we're going to talk about anxiety. Please don't judge my handwriting. So what is anxiety? No, I'm talking from yes, absolutely, right? Yeah, definitely, actually, but from an evolutionary, I'm talking biological, physiological perspective. What's anxiety?
Fear of not having control.
It's a fear, right? A fear of what? It is a very natural reaction. Human beings, remember, we are just animals like anything else, right? And we have the same reflexes as animals. And if we have perceived danger, if we have danger that we are perceiving, of course we're going to have the same reactions as if there was a legitimate threat there. So when he said it's a figure of your imagination, it's the exact same. If you're feeling anxious, you're feeling pressure about something, as if there's like a tiger running out. But you need to understand why, because I'm not just going to, I never like just saying something and making you take it. Well, you have to understand why. And it's because of how human beings work. So the human brain's actually divided into three. You've got what's called the reptilian core, which is basically safe or unsafe. That's what all reptiles have. Then mammals came about through evolution, and they've got what's called the mammalian brain. And that determines sort of social order and social pecking order within tribes, because obviously mammals work in tribes. And then we've got what's called the neocortex, which is the ability to process and use tools and understand one another, right? So I don't mean to get too intensive with it, but I do want to give you a good explanation. When we as people, right, when we speak about anxiety, what we're actually triggering is a mammalian reflex of where we stand in the pecking order. Humans work in what's called dominance hierarchies, just like any other animal, right? I know it's getting a little heavy duty, but just stay with me on this. We work in dominance hierarchies. So imagine, so we have, there's a perceived competency, a thing that you're supposed to be good at, and whoever is the best at that gets the most food, gets the most reproductive opportunities. This is like caveman times, right? But think about like when you're on a sports team, who's the coolest person on your sports team? Who's the best player, right? So we're constantly aligning ourselves in social dominance hierarchies. That's how we work. And so anxiety, when it comes to work, and I know I'm taking you a long way around to get it, right? But anxiety when it comes to work is actually you fearing going down the pecking order, fearing that you're going to get kicked out of the tribe. Because as an animal, as an instinctive reflex, if you get kicked out of the tribe, you're not going to survive very long, right? So it's actually, so why your brain perceives it as life or death is because it's assuming that you're going to get kicked out and you're going to get, eaten or whatever. That's the physiological reaction. So does that explain anything for some people? Does that go, that makes a lot of sense, right? So when you're looking at the why, there's a thing called glossophobia, right? Does anyone know what glossophobia is? Fear of public speaking. 75% of the world has glossophobia. 75% of the world. So even just being able to sell for a living, you guys are already in the 25th percentile. That's pretty cool, right? All right, give yourselves a round of applause. But you look at it, so why people are afraid of public speaking is because there is a large crowd that could see them fail. And that will then drop them down the dominance, down the social pecking order. And that then makes them feel like they might get kicked out. So do you understand why people do have a fear of public speaking?
Yes.
Cool. So if you understand anxiety, what we really need to do, if you understand pressure, if you understand anxiety, what we really need to do is figure out a way to avert that, to circumvent that, right? There's not people don't know what circumvent means. Right? So it means figure out a way to work around that.